Welcome to the Wise Owl Knits podcast. I'm your host, Cheryl Beckrich, and I am the designer at Wise Owl Knits and really the everything at Wise Owl Knits. It's a really small company, just me. I am wearing my Keeping Time sweater today, and this is a top-down colorwork sweater knit in DK weight yarn. The specific yarn I used in this sample is Dubrovnik DK, and that's from Knitting McPurley Yarn Company. There are 4 colors, not 3, 4 colors. The blue is Phantom, the pink is Fantine, this darker background color is Morel, and the lighter background color is Bougie. As I said, it's DK weight yarn, and I use this Knitting McPurley yarn, but you can use any DK weight yarn that you'd like that you can get gauge. Maybe even a light worsted weight would also work. So just do your swatch, and I'm sure you can be fine with something in your stash. This is a great sweater for somebody who is just starting with color work because most of it is just 1x1 color work, so there are no long floats. It's a good pattern for practicing your tension in color work, and it's a lot easier to keep a good, consistent, not too tight tension when you don't have long floats and you don't have to worry about grabbing your floats behind your work too. So great pattern for a newer knitter. If you wanted to do it in a different weight yarn, you could use Knitting McPurley's gauge sheet switcheroo or the gauge switch tool that is on my website, which is really the same as Knitting McPurley's tool, but it does the math for you, and that's sometimes nice. So that's the gauge switch tool, and that's at wiseowlknits.com. While you're over there, this pattern is on sale just for a limited time. And if you use the code 63WOKP, you can save $1 on this pattern. So head on over there and save a little money. And I'd love to see your finished projects or your works in progress as you're doing them. Please share your pictures with me. Well, I really want to thank you all for being here today, whether it's your first time or you've watched over and over again. Either way, I'm happy to have you here. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. That just helps YouTube suggest my videos to other knitters, and it also helps you when a new episode comes out, you'll get notified that a new episode is there. I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And I've got about 300, a little over 300 to go. So if you could help me out, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you hit that like button and leave me comments, that helps out too. So like I said, I really appreciate you all being here. And whether you're watching this to learn something new, just for entertainment, or you just need some background noise of another knitter while you're sitting there knitting, all of that is great. All views are good. So thank you so much, and remember to hit that subscribe button. So here is what I've been working on. I'm working on my second shawl, and I just came up with a name, and I wasn't sure if it was gonna stick or not, but I think I like it. It's gonna be called the Libby shawl. So this is my second shawl of this, so you've seen it before if you've been watching. But this shawl alternates sections of a knit one below, which is also really a brioche stitch. And then there's an eyelet section. So there are 10 sections across the whole shawl of these alternating stitch patterns. And then there's a wavy border at the end. So I'm on that wavy border now. This is knit in Tuscan Knits Fuzz, and I think the colorway was Store. Unfortunately, Tuscan Knits is no longer dying, so you can't get any, but this yarn is a combination of wool and mohair. So works great if you've got some fingering weight yarn that's wool and mohair. That's a good choice. You're going to need about 150, 160 grams of yarn for this pattern. I'll show you the original because it's all done, and this is knit out of a Wenneth Yarn and Fibers. The colorway is I'm Doing a Resistance, and it's 100% superwash merino. This yarn is a bit lighter than the Tuscan Knits yarn, and so the other shawl is going to come out slightly bigger than this one. This one is 18 inches in the center up and down, and it's about 70 inches wide. So it's a good size shawl, and it's just a nice wardrobe addition. It's not super dressy, but dressy enough that you could wear it to a fancier event, or you could dress it down too. So that's the Libby shawl. This pattern is at the tech editor right now. So I probably will get it back by November 8th or 9th, and I hope to make all the adjustments right after that and then get it out for you. So watch for that coming soon. The other thing that I'm working on is one of my national park hats, my first national park hat. And this is from Nancy Bates' book, Knitting the National Parks. I'll try and spread some of it out a little bit. This is for the Black Canyon of Gunnison. And at this park, it's a big, I'm always pulling my stitches off. Oh, it's a big, deep canyon made of black marble with just threads of pink marble going through it. It's really beautiful and very stunning when you see it in person. So this hat will eventually look like the canyon. Those are really the only two things that I have going right now. I've got ideas of new projects, but nothing cast on at the moment. Well, I guess I do have some things that are in, not timeout, but just things that I work on occasionally. Like I've got a Cozy Memories blanket that is still a work in progress, but I haven't worked on it for a couple of months, so I'm not going to show that to you today. What I would like to talk about today is brioche knitting. And on the last episode, I gave a little bit of information on the history of cables. So we're going to do the same thing today, the history of brioche knitting. And it apparently got its start around 1840. And at that time, there were people from England visiting Morocco, and they came back with these hassocks or poufs or brioches that were like little footstools, and I'll put a picture of it here, that the English people really thought were very unique, and they brought that back to their homes in England as souvenirs from their trips to Morocco. And many of these, though not all, were knit in this brioche stitch. And so the name of the stitch was taken from what they were calling these hassocks when they first brought them back. And brioche at that time meant the actual piece that they were bringing back, because it looked like a thick piece of bread or pastry. And also that word brioche was used for French pastries that were poofy, and eventually became the name of the knitting stitch too. Now there was a pattern to make one of these poofs, and I think it was dated about 1850. and I'm going to put that up here too. It gives instructions on how to knit it, but I could not make any sense of it at all. I couldn't knit that from these instructions, but I could figure out how to knit one if I so desired, but I don't think I need one of those. You've probably seen, they were popular a couple of years ago, garter stitch knitted poofs that people were using as furniture or footstools. I'll show just a picture of one of those. So that's when it really got started. I don't know that it ever gained a lot of popularity, but it was a technique that kind of went in and out of popularity every 8 to 10 years and was used in hand knitting, was eventually used a lot more in machine knitting. And with the machine knitting, it could physically make the stitches, but it could only do it in one color. It technically could do it in more than one color, but it would be a lot of work to do that and would defeat the purpose of using a machine to knit. So it was there in machine knitting in one color, and also began popping up all around Europe, mostly in one color. So brioche did not really ever go away, but was not ever super popular. It just kind of, as the years went by and you know how styles changed, it would come into popularity, go out of popularity, but was never just a super popular technique that was done over and over again. Now, it did show up in Barbara Walker's A Treasury of Knitting Patterns, and it showed up as Fisherman's Rib, and it also showed up as a waffle stitch. Both of those are the exact same stitch as brioche, and brioche can be made several ways. It can be made the way that we see it in patterns today, where you slip one yarn over and then on the next pass you knit those two together as a brioche knit. It can be done as a knit one below, and there were a couple of other ways that it could be done, but it really all produced the same stitch, though there is a difference in the tension between the different techniques of doing brioche. Brioche really started gaining popularity at the end of the 20th century, and that is when Nancy Marchant began writing about and exploring brioche, and she really has brought it to the forefront, and it's surged in popularity since she first started talking about it. But that even took a while. She wrote an article for Vogue Knitting in 1992. She was in Vogue Knitting and basically kind of explored the stitch and did that and put it out there, and then didn't do anything more with it. Then in 2005, Interweave Knits asked her to rewrite that article, which she did, and she explored it a little bit more and explained a little bit more, but that's really when her interest in brioche started to develop. And she just kind of took the whole thing and ran with it at that point. She decided she would write a book. So the first book that she wrote was Brioche Knitting. And for this book, she developed her own language or nomenclature for brioche knitting. She made symbols for the charts and just kind of mapped everything out to make it much easier for people to use the stitches, for designers to incorporate them in their designs in a way that was consistent from designer to designer. And she came up with lots of different stitch patterns. And this book really is, there are there are some full patterns in it, but mostly it's a stitch dictionary and a good jumping off point for designers to do different things. So Nancy did this book, and then she went on to even develop things further and further. Somewhere in this time period, Nancy was from Evansville, Indiana, which is where I went to high school. So I lived a lot of my teenage years in Evansville. Then she went to college in Bloomington at Indiana University, and then went on to Berkeley, where she got a master's degree in an MFA in textile arts. So she was in the textile industry really from the beginning. And I think she learned to knit, she said, at 5 or 6. So a long time knitter, but it took her a while before she really began brioche knitting. After she was done with college, like I think in 1976, she moved to the Netherlands, and she's lived there ever since. So she's never come back to the USA. I mean, she's visited the USA, but she hasn't come back to live. She became a resident there, and she actually taught Stephen West how to do brioche. And we all know what that led to. He uses brioche in many of his patterns. They're included in most of his MCALs is some kind of variation on brioche. And Nancy got everything going. He made it explode in popularity. I've done one of his patterns, the sound waves. And it's a nice, long, cushy scarf. And so this is the side with the darker color is the dominant color. The opposite side, the lighter color, is the dominant color. And that's how brioche knitting is. If you're doing 2 colors, one color will be dominant on one side, the other color will be dominant on the other side. So Nancy has gone on to write other brioche books. Her second book was Knitting Fresh Brioche, and she just expanded on the patterns even more stitch patterns and more stitch patterns. And there are, it's a good way for anybody who wants to use these designs to incorporate them into their knitting. But they, like any stitch pattern, they're a jumping off point. The sky is the limit as to how many designs you can do with brioche. Brioche knitting is mainly straight lines. You have strong lines up and down, and it kind of looks like ribbing. But when you work increases and decreases, like at the top of this hat, you can change the shape and change the direction of those lines. Like in sound waves, you are increasing stitches and then decreasing stitches, and then doing the opposite on this other section. So with those increases and decreases, you can make some really intricate designs and shapes, and a lot of it lends itself really well to kind of botanical type of designs, leaves and flowers, and really just all sorts of things. So after knitting Fresh Brioche, she went on to knit, I'm sure she went on to knit. She went on to write a couple of other books. One is called Tuck Stitches, and it is brioche too, but the difference is in the tuck stitches, when you slip one yarn over, you do it on multiple rows, and then multiple rows are worked together, and that kind of scrunches up the fabric a little bit and gives it some dimension. I mean, it's got dimension anyway because it's brioche, so it's thick and has hills and valleys, but this even accentuates that. So the Tuck Stitches book is another one. She also wrote a book called Knitting Leafy Brioche, and I have that one ordered, but I don't have it yet, so I'm anxious to look at that. And then there's a fifth book that's Knitting Lace Brioche, and that one must be out of print right now because the other books are all like $30 or $35. That one is $145. So I did not order that one, and I did go to the library to see if they had it, and I didn't see if the downtown branch has it, but it was not at my local branch of the library. I do have actually 2 copies of the Tuck Stitches book. Grab that one real quick. So these stitches are all made with working several rows of yarn over slip-ons together. So rather than just having one yarn over for the slip stitch, you might have 2 or 3 or 4 or even more, and that puckers up or tucks the stitches together. So if you would be interested in getting a copy of this book and you live in the United States or Canada, then leave me a comment with the word book in it and let me know if you just subscribed or you're already subscribed, and then also click the like button on the video. And at my next episode, I'll let you know who won. So let me know either way. I was already subscribed or I just subscribed, and like the video and tell me that you want the book. Comments. Got some good comments on last week's video, which again was on mostly about cables and the history of cables and what cable needles people like to use, and or if they like to just manipulate the stitches with their fingers. So first I got a comment from Eileen, and Eileen says, I don't like charts. We did talk about charts a little bit in that episode too. She said, for a cable needle, I usually use a wooden straight cable needle with notches in it from Knit Picks. I've tried those, but they're a little too grabby for me. She says, occasionally I will use one of the bent kind. Just depends on the project. I like doing cables, but only every so often. I don't know how yet to cable without a needle. Peru Jive says, I love cables. I did a test knit for you a few years back, and the instructions were really spot on for my brain. I do have to concentrate when I knit cables. It's not intuitive for me. My cable needle is one my mom gifted to me. I think that it's older than me. I love them. And she says, have a wonderful crafty week. Sharon says, I love knitting cables too. If there are no more than 2 stitches over 2 stitches, I am comfortable with doing them without a cable needle. I learned how to do that from Suzanne Bryan. She has a video that shows 2 ways to do it, and I find one of the ways easier than the other. When I do use a cable needle, I like to use the kind that's shaped like a candy cane, because I can hang it on my pinky between cables and don't have to put it down and pick it up each time I need it. I don't have to move the stitches much because I don't knit off the cable needle. I pick up the stitches with the short end, let it hang while I knit the other stitches, then slip the stitches back onto the left needle from the short end, and then knit them. That sounds like a good way to do it. That, you found a method that works good for you and sounds very efficient, so that's great. Heidi says, hi, this is my first time watching your videos. Thank you. I've got many of your patterns and I've knit several of your hats. I love to knit cables and prefer to have the pattern written out, although I'd love to learn to use charts. She said, I tried to knit the Scottish Ale. I believe it was several years ago, but it was a bit too much for me at the time. It is a big cable-y commitment to knit the Scottish ale. So any of you that have done it, I really thank you for that. It's a great sweater and well worth it, but it is a big commitment. She said, I've perfected my cables now, and I feel that I'll attempt one of your sweater patterns again, although definitely not in front of the TV. Hats I can manage while watching TV. I enjoyed your video and will have to go check out some of your other ones. I look forward to you releasing the new shawl pattern that you were working on in the video. So that would be the Libby shawl. Cheryl Edwards says, it just depends on my project, what cable needle I like. If it's of minor weight, I tend to use something with a good hook on it to make sure that I don't drop the stitches. But if it's worsted weight to bulky, I'll just grab a DPN. I've tried manipulating the stitches with the needles or just dropping them and letting them hang loose, then picking them up again. But I'm not really a fan of that technique. Probably because I have essential tremors and things can unravel quickly sometimes. Even if you don't have tremors, things can unravel quickly sometimes. Just to let you know, I do have quite a few patterns on my website that have brioche included in them. One would be the Lighthouse sweater, so that's one that was just recently released. That's the red raglan sweater that just has brioche increases at each raglan section. So that's a nice one to try if you're new to brioche. I've got several hats. This one is the Bi-Bri, so that's B-I-B-R-I. So that kind of stands for two-color brioche. I have another one-color version of this hat that's called the Tri-Bri, and that is tri because of the crown being divided into 3 sections. Another hat is called the Cab-Bri, and that's a combination of cables and brioche. So those are all there. I have put it in a shawl too. The Brave and Kind shawl is a combination of brioche and eyelet, which is, you know, what's in this new shawl that I have coming out. But this is a different way the shawl is put together, and it uses several yarns. So check any of those out if you want to give brioche a try. The hats are sized so they can be from baby to adult. So if you want to just try a small baby hat, that's a good way to dip your toe into the waters too. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate you being here. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button and leave me a comment. I hope to see you soon. Bye.